Welcome to Death and Aliens, an in-depth look at horror and sci-fi TV from two friends who vaguely know what they're doing. I'm Courtney. We didn't hear you at all.
You didn't hear me?
Ah, you are. You were too far away.
Oh, okay. I'm
But she's
MK.
okay.
That's me. Um,
How are you?
Other than the fact that it's literally 90 degrees in October, I'm great. That one fact is more than I can handle in this moment. Um, you're not supposed to sweat this much in fall. It's rude.
Yeah, my coworker got on the elevator with me this morning when I was getting to work, and he was like, "How do you think about the weather? Isn't it great that it's this way?" And I was just like, "Absolutely not." And he was like, "What? You don't like this?" Like, no, no, I do
No.
not.
Um, my sixth graders are reading My Side of the Mountain, which I don't know if you remember that book from being a small baby child.
I never read it, but I think you've told me about it before.
Oh yeah, but this kid like runs away from home to go live in the Catskill Mountains and
Oh, that's nice.
like builds a house inside a tree and all this stuff. So as part of reading this book, we are gonna be doing some like art with leaves and stuff. So I was like, oh, perfect. On Monday we'll go for a walk and we'll collect leaves so that we can do art for the week. We were outside for 15 minutes today.
No, too long.
Too long. I also have them the second to last class of the day, so it was 1:15.
No.
Was the wrong time of the day to be outside. And I don't think I've cooled down since then. Like
I
I
just
got
turned my fan on during our break. I was like, I
I
can't.
I mean, I got home from work and immediately just like took all of my clothes off and stood under my fan in my bedroom because I was like, I can't breathe.
No, it's insane. And you have no AC at your school. It's
No.
insane. You're supposed to be done now.
Yeah. I'm not supposed to have to deal like the first 2 weeks of September and the last 2 weeks of June are supposed to be the only times that I have to deal with how bad it gets without the
Hmm.
AC in school. I did not sign up to feel this way in October.
No, you should quit.
I can't. My principal would be too happy that I left to get another job. She literally texts me job openings. That makes it sound like she doesn't want me to work for her. That's not
No,
it at
she
all.
wants what's best for you.
She wants me to have a job that pays better, is what it
Right.
is. But literally, it will be like 10 o'clock at night, and I'll be get a text, and it'll just be like English teacher opening at, and I'm like,
Trying to
thank
get rid
you.
of you.
I did find out it's not just me that she sends them
Oh,
to.
that's good.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, well, she
That's
just
better.
wants that she does. I mean, and she sends it to the people that she thinks are qualified to have other jobs.
Sure, sure.
But I'm like, oh, okay, it's not just me that she's trying to kick out. Um,
No, it's everyone that she thinks is qualified to be somewhere else.
yeah, because she is the world's greatest boss, and that is the one thing when I do leave the school and get a public school job, not having her will be. I'll probably like call her every day and be like, why aren't all principals you?
Yeah, that's fair.
How are you?
Well, now that I've turned my fan on, even though I fought it all day for no reason, um, I am fine. It is spooky season. So
It
it is
is.
October 2nd, and I am one day into my 30 days, 31 days of movies, horror movies.
I was gonna say, did you watch one today? I know you watched one yesterday, but
I'm
did
watching it after we get off. I already posted it
okay.
though.
Okay.
Um, I found it's called Nightmare on Film Street Challenge.
Oh yes,
And so
yes,
they give
yes.
you like, yeah, I posted in our story the first day. They give you like a theme that you have to like find a movie that fits into it. But then if you like can't off the top of your head think of a theme, they also have like a list of like 10 movies that fit that theme and like where you can watch them.
Very
Um,
nice.
so I am like hardcore into my horror stuff now. I watched Cube yesterday, which is like Escape Room before Escape Room came out.
Okay. Zach responded to our story and said that that was a fantastic movie, and I was like, I'm glad someone else has watched it because I have not.
Zach's seen all of them, so he's my horror movie go-to. So yeah. And tonight I'm gonna watch Children of the Corn, which I've never watched, but I didn't realize it's a child cult. I thought it was just like child murderers. Like it's a whole cult. So I'm very excited. I've never seen it. Um
Have.
What?
What? A horror movie that you've never seen that I have? Yes, I have seen Children of the Corn.
Wild.
Yeah.
What'd you think? Did you like it?
Um, I didn't dislike it. I do distinctly remember my only thought was that the kids were the creepiest children I'd ever seen in my entire life.
Kids are creepy. I mean, they just are.
Yeah, no, but
Like
like
black-eyed
the
kids, like I don't know that these are gonna like get.
um but yeah, it was like they just their like haircuts and faces are terrifying.
Yeah, that sounds right. Um, yeah, tomorrow I'm going to see the it's like behind the scenes or something of Unsolved Mysteries at Alamo Draft House.
Oh,
And I'm contemplating, I don't know, my week looks very busy, but I'm contemplating going to try and see The Exorcist on Friday because that's the day it premieres. I don't know if I'm going to
if
make it though.
if I do go to the movies this week, which I was gonna, Dan and I were gonna go to the movies on Thursday, but after dinner, we were just both so tired. And like, I texted you, I would say, we don't know if we want to go to the movies or if we would just want to like go home and put PJs on and sit on the couch. And you were like, go home, because then if you fall asleep,
Yeah,
it's fine. But if we do go to the movies this week, we are going to see A Haunting in Venice.
I saw that last week.
Did
Last, I don't
you?
know. I saw it recently. I don't remember if that was last week or the week before.
I'm super excited.
It's really good.
See,
And it's not like hella scary. Like you'll be fine.
no, I loved because it's the Hercule
Agatha
Poirot
Christie.
stuff. Yeah, I loved Murder on the Orient Express.
I didn't watch
Um,
it.
but I did not like Death on the Nile, so I'm
I also didn't
nervous.
watch it.
So I'm nervous about this one because I don't know
Well, I
what
haven't seen
direction.
any of the other ones, but it was good. I enjoyed
Okay,
it.
okay,
It was a good story. So you'll enjoy it. I will tell you, because I've read one too many whodunit stories, I picked out the killer the first like 5 or 10 minutes. But it's not
well,
obvious. It's just like there was no reason I picked them as the killer other than that like
oh no, you mean
I
like the
just
fact that like in the first season of what's that one where they're on the island off North Carolina that all the teenagers are obsessed with? Um,
Yellow Jackets.
no, it's older, like in a beach island. Um, um, and the
I don't know. This means
Outer
nothing.
Banks,
Oh, I
OBX,
did
Outer
watch
Banks.
that one.
Okay. I knew who the villain was before the credits were done, and Renee was pissed off because she was like, "How did you know?" And I go, "Oh, I just looked at his face." And she
Rachel
was
did tell
like,
me I should watch it. She said I'd like it, but
she was like, "But you just looked at his face." I go, "Yeah, that's something about the way he was standing and the way he talked to that guy." I was like, he definitely is the
well, now I
problem."
hope you go see Haunting in Venice. Come, I know if you figure it
Okay.
out like I did
Okay.
with no context clues.
Great. Perfect.
But yes, I'm real hardcore into spooky horror season. Have some upcoming horror events, etc. And I'm excited. I will be
Fantastic.
talking about nothing but horror and Stargate from now until the end of October. So,
Perfect.
but since I'm already in my spiritual spookiness, can you add to that?
I sure
Enlighten me?
can. And today's quote is, "If we did all the things we are capable of, we would literally astound ourselves." Thomas Edison.
That's too many things, though. That's my brain trying to figure out how I'm going to take the bar exam and continue on with my life at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, listen. September is over. September was the worst month.
September sucks.
Well, no, but in general, for like my life, for what I was doing, September was awful. But I did not miss any of my classes. I did not miss any of my Saturday classes. I did not miss, like, I taught and was prepared for teaching every single day. I have 100 in my grad class. One of the two. The other one she hasn't graded everything, but the other one, I have 100. And I didn't have to call in sick for a single day. I made it through the whole month, and I only cried about being overwhelmed with my life once.
Ooh, that's impressive.
I know.
I would have cried
And I
way
got
more than
engaged.
that. Yeah. Busy
So
month. Busy
it
month.
was, yeah.
But
So yeah, I think you can do it.
okay. I think anyone can do anything they put their mind to, even if it's miserable. But what's not miserable is The Exorcist, season 2,
Absolutely.
episode 1. Janice. That is what it is called. It aired September 29th, 2017. It was rated 7.8 out of 10. The number one song is Look What You Made Me Do, Taylor Swift, because it came out 6 years ago.
That's rude, and I don't believe you.
I know, I was like, that doesn't sound right. And then I was like, nope, that was my second year of law school. That's when that came out. That makes sense. Yeah. And then nope, that was my third year of law school when it came out, I guess.
What was the day? September which day?
September 29th, 2017.
I don't know what I did. I have exactly one picture saved in my Google from that day, and it was the formal pictures of someone's wedding that somebody else sent me to make fun of because it looked like a vampire photo shoot.
I love it.
Yeah.
Speaking, oh no, this is not the right. This is where I get confused every time.
Yeah.
The number one movie. It's not a vampire movie. It's Blade Runner 2049.
Yes, no, Blade and Blade Runner are not the same. We do actually talk about this on this podcast more than we should.
More than we should. I should not get them as confused as I do. But that was my first thought when I saw it. I was like, oh, and then I was like, nope. Still the one I haven't seen.
Yep.
And the number one book was Secrets in Death by J.D. Robb. So one day I'll read that series.
Me too.
I know.
My mom owns them all. My mom owns them all, so I could just pick one up and start reading, but that would require me to have time to pick up a book and start reading.
Yeah, I read on the train a lot. That's when my reading time is, and sometimes at lunch, but
that would be great. I drive. So.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So on this day, nothing happened of any significance, except Shania Twain's fifth album called Now came out.
Which I don't remember her having a fifth album. I'm going to be 100% real with you. Okay, great.
Me either. Apparently it was a big deal. So now we know.
Great.
And Julia Louis-Dreyfus was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Oh, I do remember that. I remember when she announced that. That was rough.
But she's beat it. So moving onward and upward. Our director is Jason Insler, who we've spoken about multiple times. Yep. Our writers, there is a slew of them this time. A lot we've already talked about. Heather Belson was the main writer. We had a story editor of David Grimm, and then Alyssa Clark. We talked about David Grimm, but Alyssa Clark is known for the 100, Servant, Lineage of 1997, which didn't have a picture on it, so I don't even know what it is. And the Teen Wolf of 2011, 2013 era. The staff writer is Yasmin Yilmaz, who's known for NCIS, The Protector, and The Astronauts. And our editor is Janet Weinberg, who we've spoken about. She's been the editor ongoing a lot. So one of our new stars that we're going to be speaking of is...
Before you do that, I just want to say, in our season 1 wrap-up episode where we talked about it, we talked about not being sure where Bennett stands for this season. And when his name came up in the credits, I was so fucking pumped.
Yeah. I saw his name in the credits. I was like, yes, we're in. We're in. So that's not who we're speaking about yet.
Of course not.
I was also very
excited. I was like, why would we talk about him? We already did.
Right, we already did. But instead, we are going to talk about Lee Chun-Li, who plays Rose Cooper. And she is known for Babylon, based on a true story, which I just watched, Florida Man, and Sex Life. Didn't find a ton of things about her, but she did originate the role of Liat Leah in South Pacific with Matthew Morrison.
Okay.
So she's got some street cred of her own.
Oh,
And now
all
it's
right.
time, friends, to get into it.
I'm gonna be real before we really dive into the episode. My just like overall thought is that I don't think I understood a fucking second of this episode.
That's okay.
And I don't know if I was just really tired watching it or if I just like really had no clue what I was like I had so little clue what to expect
Yeah.
that I was like, what in the fuck is going on?
Well, that's very fair. It was very different from season one.
So different.
It is a very like psychosomatic, like it's very much in your head a lot of the time. And it swapped back and forth between two storylines the whole time. So
that didn't
you
connect
didn't
in the first season, even though there was definitely multiple storylines, you knew what the connection between them was.
right.
This one is, I'm very confused.
Yeah, there's no connection yet. I think I might have figured it out, but it's not there yet. It's not there.
No, I mean, I obviously like there's moments that make sense, and I like,
But you don't know how you're
obviously,
getting from Montana to Washington.
yeah,
Right.
or why?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. So they did, of course, a recap of season one. We see the Rance family on their way out and how they cured Casey and Angela from the demon and walked away into the sunlight and the moonlight. It was dark, into the moonlight, onto their lives as exorcists.
I did appreciate that the recap was more about Tomas and Marcus's relationship than it was about the actual plot of season one.
Yeah, well, that's because that's what you needed. You didn't need the plot. You
Yeah.
needed their relationship and
Yeah.
how it developed, because that's
Yeah.
where we're going. And so we start with Tomas, and he is at the church, and he is a little scruffier looking, which is looks good on him. Looks good on him.
It does.
And he's walking through. He starts hearing children, and he's going through, and we start seeing children's handprints. And all I could say was like the way that it was filmed, I was like, this is such a dream-like filter that like if we're not in a dream, I don't know what they're doing with their like video skills. Turns out we were in his head, so it's fine.
Yeah,
but like, because it
no,
had that wavy feeling in the like lights that you see, like
yeah, and the music.
mm-hmm.
And I again was like, what in the actual fuck is happening?
Yeah, Walking After Midnight was playing. Fun fact, that's one of my mom's favorite songs. It's a great song.
Song two, but after this episode, I don't know that I do anymore.
I'm still in on it.
Okay.
I mean, you can't get rid of Patsy Cline, bless her heart. And so then we see him walk out to where the children are, and they're like playing, and then he sees this woman with a child, and we have no idea what's going on, as you said. And then the child breaks the piñata, and black sludge starts coming out, and you're like, oh, if I wasn't certain that this was a dream state before, I definitely am now. Like, this is not reality. And then we wake up to him yelling and flying down the road, driving while Marcus is in the back of a pickup truck. And we're in Montana.
Doing an exorcism while driving. So you know how I said I wanted season 2 to be the Scooby Gang? I didn't know that they were listening.
They were listening. You even have the henchman following. It's her husband, but
and of course her husband is like a small town cop trying to shoot them. Like,
you're in Montana, what do you expect? What else would it be? But yeah, so it's the woman from his dream state, and she is being exorcised, and he is flying down the road, and then we get the credits. And we are just like thrown in to like chaos.
The credits, the new imagery in the credits, way creepier than season 1.
way creepier. At first, like I had to rewind them because at first I was like, oh, we're starting off the same. And then I like glanced away and glanced back and I was like, that's not the same. Like I had to come back and it's like I
No.
actually really like it because
No, I do too.
you start with that like similarity you have from the first season where it's like light and everything's pretty white and it goes really dark and it's it's brilliant. I think whoever changed the credits but kept them similar enough to the first season, brilliant.
Yeah, no, it was the same style, same music, but the
Mhm.
imagery was just slightly more evil.
Yeah, it was slightly more evil, but it had like such a big impact for such a subtle change.
Yes.
And so I'm just like I got to the credits and I was like, I am ready for this season. I was like, I don't know what's coming, but I am ready.
So I agree. The first scene and that whole thing and the weird dream and the what the fuck was happening, I was so in on it. It was just then the rest of the episode that I wasn't as in on.
I think I
And I
think
think
it'll
I know that
grow on.
there's I think it will grow on me. I definitely I just I well I'll talk about it
We'll
when
get
we
into
get
it.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we come back from the credits and Tomas has pulled off the road to try and outwit the truck that's following them. And Marcus is like holding his hand over the woman's mouth because, of course, the demon's trying to scream to alert the truck to free her as opposed
Yeah.
to exercising her. And she
Yeah.
bites down, and he just like doesn't like he's such a like a trooper. Like I
Hmm.
just couldn't
Yeah.
like if you even like act like you're gonna bite me, I would immediately move my hand. I would make a terrible exorcist.
Yeah, no,
Um,
you would make the worst
yeah,
exercise.
the absolute worst one. Like would not survive as an
Yeah.
exorcist. I'd also make a bad priest though. So like, I just would not be well in the exorcist world.
No, 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 no.
I don't think I get possessed though. I think I wouldn't get possessed by a demon, but I'd for sure crumble if someone I knew was a demon. So
I wouldn't except for like sometimes at 4 o'clock in the morning when you can't sleep and you've had too
mm,
much coffee and you don't have like money and then anyone could possess you. They said the right thing.
that's true. That's true. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. But let's say I'm my healthiest state
Then no,
mentally.
you definitely could. Yeah, mentally healthy you definitely not.
Right. But like reality mean depends on the time of day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so she bites him and then we learn that like they just kidnapped her to exercise her. I was like, well, that's a choice. Maybe it's the right one, but it's a choice. You're getting too far away from your mic and I can't hear anything you're saying.
Oh, God damn it. I'm moving my mic then because I can't move my ass because it hurts too much. Um, uh, yeah, I don't know if I agree with that choice.
Yeah. But this is also when we learn that Bennett is still alive and Bennett is still involved because they're receiving letters from him or phone calls or
Yeah,
something. I actually missed how
but
they're
he's
communicating, but
yeah, but
communication is
he's yes, he's got some suspect intel apparently because he told them to kidnap this woman, basically.
right. Right. So like if Bennett's telling the kidnapper, it's probably a good move.
That's
Like
fair. That's fair. If Bennett
he's
asked me to kidnap someone, I would.
yeah, like he's always on the right side of the law usually. Like even when he's like not technically, he
Yeah.
doesn't make very many questionable choices, unlike these two. So then we jump over to Washington, which is a new state that we did not start in. And we
No.
see John Cho, who is my fave, and family. And I was trying to write down how many children there are, so it's just like a bunch of scratches. There's five.
There are
I thought
five,
there were
yeah.
three, so I was like three. Nope, four. Nope, five.
To
Turns
be
out,
fair, at the beginning, that is they were introduced three and then the fourth one, and then we
yeah,
find out after the four leave that there's a fifth one. So that's valid.
right. And so it turns out he's a foster parent, which is nice. And
Um,
I think it's going to cause for an interesting story.
I do too. But also, I remember last week you were talking about how he was probably going to be a cop because John Cho always plays a cop, and when he wasn't, I was like, oh, that's so sad. He's not a cop. But then I was like, no, but like he's adorable as a foster dad. And by the end of the episode, I was like, I would like him to be the foster dad of all of my students. Like I want someone who loves kids that much around all the time.
Oh,
He was,
ugh, I love him. I was right to love him.
yeah,
I know.
favorite. He's
Um,
my definitely my favorite character of the season so far.
he's always my favorite character. Yeah, so he sends off his three kids to school, and then there's a fourth one that gets sent off with them. And then we see one more child that's been left behind. They are um Jesus, hold on. I said let me move my cord closer and then it fell. Um so there's a fifth child, her name is Grace, and
Yeah.
she is not good at school. She doesn't like not good at attending school. She needs to
Yeah.
be separated from other kids because she just seems to be a little anxious, which
Yeah.
is what it is. We get it. We get it.
I
Um,
mean, and she's in foster care at such a young age and she seems kind of fragile. So like I get her anxiety for
yeah, and
sure.
we don't know how long she's been there, so it could be like her first week. But we do know he's homeschooling her, which is very sweet.
Yeah.
Um, and I was like, she's gonna be the one to get possessed. I don't know if that's true or not, but that was my first thought
I
upon seeing it.
I did too. My first thought I was like, oh no, it's going to be a little baby child possessed. And then within that first scene with her, I thought, oh no, that would be too on the nose. Because then she puts her anxiety mask on, and it is the fucking
The
creepiest
creepiest
pillowcase,
thing.
weird shit. She looks like a fucking box troll. Like, I don't know what is happening. But because of that mask, I think she will not be the one possessed because that would be too obvious. Have
Yeah, I think it'll be too
the
obvious.
weird pillowcase, the weird pillowcase face girl. No.
Yeah. I wonder if someone steals her pillowcase face though, like when they're possessed. That would be
I hate
terrifying.
it. I hate
I hate
it.
it too. So we go back to Marcus and Tomas, and we learn that we are 6 months out from where we left off at the end of season one.
Which explains the scruffy facial hair.
Yes. And they are breaking into a barn or warehouse of sorts, to hide away with this woman they've stolen. And we learn, of course, that Tomas turned down the promotion and ran away from the church. Um, but
I mean, it's not like everyone in the church was trying to kill him and the Pope or anything.
right, like it's not a. I don't think that's the wrong decision that we've made here.
No, no,
I
for
don't
sure.
think he would have done well at the new church. He likes helping people too much, and they were not helping the people that
Yeah,
needed help when they closed the first one. So,
correct.
but then he starts talking about everything he misses. And he says that he's missing his bed, he misses the confessional, and he misses his sister's cooking. And I was like, great. Sister's coming back into this, which means her child is probably coming back into this, which means it's
Oh,
not over
poor
yet.
Louise.
Yeah. So then he starts telling Marcus about his weird party dream. And Marcus is just trying to convince him that he's imagining it completely. He's like, no, none of this is real. It's all in your head. He's like, no, I can do that. He's like, no, this is not going to solve anything. Don't do it. And
Yeah.
so he sends him away on a grocery run. And he did it because he knows that Tomas is getting too close to getting the demon inside of his head. And so he's got to try and exorcise this demon as best he can,
Yeah.
as we see from his conversation with the demon.
Yes.
So we go back to Washington. I meant to look this up. I didn't. So here we are. They're talking about an island witch story, and I don't know if it's like based off of a real like folklore. I would assume so, but I just
Yeah.
don't know it off the top of my head. Um, but it feels very like Blair Witch Project. So they are like
Yeah.
outside in the middle of the woods with like this abandoned house and a well, and they say that you have to stand on top of the well and count to 10, and you can hear the witch like being tortured or like dying or something. Like it was
Or
something.
no, the kids that the witch killed, you hear them screaming, the torture of them dying or something.
Yeah, yeah, something like that.
Something like that.
And so Faraday, who's one of the older kid, who's the oldest kid, she's the
Mm-hmm.
one telling the story, and she's trying to convince, um, I've already forgot his name. I think it's Caleb. Um, that he's the new initiate, so he has to be the one to do it,
Mm,
and he's
yeah.
also blind. And so he goes to do it, and Shelby, one of the other kids, immediately just grabs him off after like number two, and he's like, "We're absolutely not doing this. This is crazy, Verity. Leave him alone." So it's
Well,
clearly some kind of hazing. Um,
yeah, and Verity is obviously your like jaded punk, the system has ruined my ability to care about people kind of
absolutely,
teenager. Whereas Shelby is the if it weren't for Jesus, I wouldn't have a foster family kind of kid. So like
right?
they're like this the two very opposite stereotypes of people who grow up in foster care.
Yeah,
um, and so that's fascinating.
yeah. It's a good balance, and it's one I'm sure
Hmm.
we're gonna need. Um,
Yeah.
so then the other kid, Truck, because that is a name, it seems, um,
I
is
love that.
playing.
Honestly, the fact that his name is Truck is one of my favorite things about him.
I hate it, but I get it. I get that you love it. But he's kicking around
I
a
mean,
ball.
people name their kid Bentley. That's just
I don't
naming
like
them
that
fancy
either.
truck.
I don't like that either.
Mercedes, Porsche, uh,
Yeah,
Chevy
that's
Cruise. Just kidding. Could you imagine?
fine. And people have named their kids Cruise. So like
Oh yeah. Jeep, Jeep Grand Cherokee.
Jeep, Jeep Grand Cherokee, JGC. Goes by JGC for short. Yeah, you like it. If we all were like named after our cars, now I'm gonna think about that. So I drive a Scion. So my name would be Scion, which is like
My name,
pretty
my
killer.
name would be Cruz.
Yeah.
Dan, Dan drives a Ford Escape.
So he'd be Escape.
Escape. It's a magician.
I love it. Mine's definitely the
But
most killer.
what about people without cars? They just don't have names.
They go by their initials. The last car they were in, their name changes every time they get a new car.
I mean, my name would have been before I got my cruise. My name would have been Cobalt, and that just sounds like a stripper name.
Mine would have been Camry, which like
Not awful.
not awful.
Definitely better than Cobalt.
Yeah, Cobalt's a music publisher, so like I don't know.
No, Cobalt is a stripper or a horse.
Sure. Ah, interesting. I'm gonna start going by Scion and see what people do.
I'm just gonna go by JGC.
GGC. You need to come up with like a gang sign. Off the rails again. Off the rails. That's fine.
It's too late. This is what happens when we record and it gets after 10 p.m. We just say unhinged things.
Yeah, it just happens. So here we are. You're welcome. Um, so the ball bounces into the creepy house, and then we hear that there's like demons in the well,
Oh,
as you could imagine.
yeah, they wouldn't show us this random family on an island talking about creepy shit if they weren't gonna then have somebody get possessed.
Exactly. So a woman arrives on the island to meet with John Cho, whose name is Andy Kim in
And
the
yeah,
show, and then her name is Rose, who we've spoken about already. So
yes.
she is the social worker, and they clearly have some kind of weird chemistry because he's trying
They
to like make small talk, and then he's like, "Don't hold this against me." And so we don't know what happened. I assume there was a
um
rendezvous at some point.
my assumption is that she's an ex that he broke up with. Um, because then she makes a comment later or in this conversation about how she doesn't understand why he assumes that she's too fragile to like move on and be an adult.
Yeah. Could you imagine if it was like he killed her mom and got away with it or something though? Like I'm just like gonna jump to the most unhinged conclusions for this whole episode because
This show is unhinged. It is. But if we're gonna make it through any part of the demon part of this show, the normal human relationships can't be that unhinged.
I know. But that would be a reason to like hold
Because
it against
if
him.
he murdered her mother, she would immediately be like, fuck no, you can't be around children.
I know. It's not plausible at all. It's not plausible at all. It's just where my brain went. Um,
Good.
I know it's a good place to go. So I go back to Marcus, and Sydney is talking to him. So she has come back to reality a bit, and she's saying that the reason she got possessed by the demon is because he was saying he would bring her baby. And so we know that she's lost the baby that we saw in the dream state.
Yes.
And she's talking about her life growing up, and then her husband, who has been chasing them down, is Jordy. He was her high school sweetheart. He was a high school football player. She was not a cheerleader.
She was too shy. He seems like he's actually like not a bad guy, except for the fact that he's trying. Yeah, except for the fact that he is trying to like beat the shit out of and kill Marcus and Tomas. But like also to his credit, I was like, to his credit, they did kidnap his wife.
Right. He has no idea. And like, even if your wife is like in that bad of a state, it's you have this delusion that they're going to be okay anyways.
And if the demon possessed her during like postpartum like depression and child loss, he could just be thinking that she's like depressed. Broken.
Yeah, absolutely. So he's not actually at fault.
No, I'm not. I'm not mad at Jordy yet. I don't know if I have a reason to hate him yet.
Yeah. But then she asked him if he's with someone, and he's like, "I'm married to the church." And then the demon comes back and starts like goading him, and he's like, "They took your collar, so there's nothing left of you. There's no reason to be single. There's no reason to be alone, except for you're an exorcist and you have to be alone or everyone you love dies." So, like, whatever. So the demon's goading him, and we go back to Washington. And they're all sitting at the table, plus Rose, and John is praying. His name is Andy. I might call him Andy this season. Andy is praying while Verity is acting like a typical teenager. She's just like,
was Andy saying the prayer or was Shelby? I thought Shelby was saying the prayer.
Oh, maybe Shelby was. I was only catching what Verity was doing.
Yeah, she was being kind of a dweeb.
Yeah. And so
because like he was like talking about praying to God, and she was like, to the flying spaghetti monster. Yeah. Like she like clearly not even something that like she believed what she was saying. She was just being a dick.
She was just being an obnoxious teenager. Like that's all it was.
Yeah.
And so apparently they had been prepped to have conversation and be normal at dinner. So she immediately starts asking Rose about being a social worker. And she's like, "So what do you think about being a social worker?" And she's like, "Oh, well, it's, I do this. I help kids." And she's like, "But only until they're 18. And then screw them. You don't care anymore." She's like, "I'm 3 months out. And then I'm just lost into the wild," and like going off on a tangent. And it's a very like stereotypical like scene with a orphan that's about to go out of the system and have no home.
Exactly.
It's like very typical. And then Caleb, who is the blind kid, steps in to say, to ask about his dad, and we learn that his dad did not show up to the custody hearing.
So he is stuck in foster care.
Yeah, so he's stuck in foster care, and he had all these like grand like ideas for him and his dad, and then he immediately shuts down, and he's just like, "It's because I'm blind. It's because I'm too much to handle." And Andy Kim's like, "You are a lot to handle," and he's like, "You know what? I like it though." He's like, "You are like the most special kid in the world, and you're so awesome." I was like, "You're so sweet."
Literally that scene, and the fact that he didn't like say, "No, there's no problems. You're great. You don't have problems." He was like, "No, you are special and you are different, and it does take a lot of work, but I wouldn't ever give up that work," because like I was like,
I know. I was like, "Am I gonna cry in the first episode of the season? Like, what is happening?"
over things that have nothing to do with the demons.
But
Like,
nothing to do with demons or death or people we know even. Like
yeah,
it's just like
no,
the most
just
random
just
time.
like crying because there are actually good fathers in the world. What?
I know, I know,
Which is so funny that we make comments like that when both of us have like really good
I
dads.
know. Yeah, yeah. My dad called me today asking for grandchildren, so I sent him your way.
Yeah,
Um, so hopefully he follows through.
that'd be
Um,
great. If I will just send him Dan's way and tell him to have a conversation with him because I'd
Perfect.
be fine.
I love it. Um, so then we go back to Tomas, who is grocery shopping and trying to remain like relatively unseen because he's like, it's a small town, everyone knows everyone. So when they see this
Mm-hmm.
random person they've never seen before, of course they're gonna be like nosy.
Yeah.
So he goes to pay, and the cashier's like, "Do you have ID?" And he's like, "I'm paying with cash." He's like, "No ID, no phone, suspicious." And so he gives him his ID, which like just don't give him your ID. Like there's no need for that.
So,
But
yeah, I've never been somewhere that would required an ID for a purchase unless that
it was
purchase was
not
like,
alcohol and not a credit card.
yeah, alcohol, tobacco, lottery, or a credit card.
Yeah, yeah. I think this guy was just being nosy. And so
Or
he's
maybe
like, "Oh,
Montana's just that fucked up.
probably." He's like, "Oh, long way from home." And it turns out we see this like super sneaky guy in the background
Mm.
calling someone on the phone and being a snitch. And I was like, "You, sir, are the worst." I get it. I get it. The wife has been kidnapped. Everyone's trying to save her, but
Yeah.
you're all wrong. You just don't know it.
Right,
Um,
right, right.
so we go back to Washington, and Rose is walking around the house on her own, which makes no sense. You are a guest. Um, and when she starts hearing distorted music, and she goes around the corner, and it's Caleb, and he starts playing like normal music a few minutes later after she walks around. And then he looks like he's looking at her, even though we
Yeah,
know he's
no,
blind.
no, he did not play normal music. He
Well,
played
like,
the same, yeah, but he played the same goddamn song from the first dream sequence.
yes, but it wasn't, he was scratching it at first, and then he stopped and let it play through.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
But it
But yeah,
wasn't just like
so
a random song.
yeah. So it was the same song from the first dream sequence. And then we go over to Andy, who's looking at pictures of him and who I imagine is his ex-wife because she has the same last name as him. And
See, I didn't imagine she was an ex. I imagined she was dead.
oh, I think she's dead too. I imagine she was dead. I guess ex-wife is not the right word for that then.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Yeah, no. Yeah, his
yes,
former wife, but like via widowhood, not
via death.
divorce.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, that was also what I imagined.
got it. Yeah, he didn't
And
seem
then
bitter. He seemed sad.
right, right. And when he closes the laptop, we have creepy sweet Grace in her little
And her
pillow
fucking
hat
her pillowcase face.
looking at him, and she says she's heard a noise. And he starts following her, and we hear like whimpering and labored breathing. And then we turn into a hall and walk into a dark room where Rose and Truck are standing there, and Truck is just like whimpering and like not well.
He's having a sleepwalking panic attack.
Yeah, and it's so
Um,
sad.
and it's
And
also like this poor man has not only is he a foster dad, he's a foster dad for the most misfit of the misfits.
he is. Um, so he goes and like bear hugs him and like gets him to wake up and come out of it. And he's like, we have to like carry him back to his room or whatever. So he's like carrying him back, and he's like, this is just how it has to go. And she's like, does he do this a lot? And he's like, only whenever he's like stressed out. She's like, oh, like when someone's in your house, and he's just like,
He doesn't
no.
say anything. He doesn't like blame
Yeah,
her, but he's like, yes, right now that is the
yeah,
anxiety that in his life
absolutely.
right now. Yeah.
Right. So we go back to Marcus and Tomas, and Cindy is resting for the moment. And this is where Tomas is again talking about like, I think I can do this. I need to get inside her head and get the demon from the outside. And Marcus is like, absolutely not, because you're getting too close to letting the demon inside you, and you can't do that, or you'll never get him out of her. And Tomas just like doesn't care. He like is saying he's gonna do it anyways. And then
To Tomas's credit, that is what had to happen for Pazuzu. Like if it
right.
weren't for Angela being fighting from the inside, it would never have happened.
Yeah, and then that's what he brings up is like he's like, well, you said Angela couldn't be saved, and I saved her, so I don't. And I'm like, okay, don't get all high and mighty.
Right.
You
Like,
saved one person that Marcus couldn't, and you would have never gotten to that point had it not been for Marcus.
right.
Like you would have died, everyone would have died. I don't know, so not
Yeah.
gonna happen. But fine. So he's like acting out a bit. So we go back to Washington, and oh, this is where he's walking Truck to his room, and we learn that Caleb is gone and the window is open. Not great. And we go to the husband who has now found Tomas and Marcus, and Marcus goes to stall while Tomas keeps doing the exorcism. He's like, just do what you got to do. I'm gonna go like hold it down. And then we go to Andy, who is like said he's going to find Caleb. So then Verity and Shelby are going to partner up to go find Caleb, and then Truck is going to stay with Rose. And then Andy finds just like a ton of creepy crawlies in the wood, and I was like, that's never a good sign.
No, no,
Um,
no, no.
so that's good. And so then we go back to Montana, and the husband's pulled a gun on Marcus at this point. And Marcus just keeps like talking him down. And he's like, here's the thing, we have to do this. I know it sucks. Like, just let it go, man. And he's he's like, we already took her to the church. They already said no, which yeah, we've seen that third time now. And he's like, yeah, we're the ones that can't say no. And I was like, that's so you're the last hope, but like you'll never give up. That's so sweet. He doesn't
Yeah.
husband Jordy doesn't care. So, and then we go back to Tomas, who's getting flashes of this inside world again. And then we have like a bit of a montage. So the friend punches Marcus, and then Marcus keeps going. So then the husband punches Marcus, and then Marcus just like starts a brawl. And he's like, this
Yeah.
is how we're going to distract you. I'm just going to start a
Right,
brawl.
because they're like, I feel bad punching a priest, and he goes, I'm not a priest, and punches
Yeah.
him right back. Well,
Yep.
oops.
And then we see the subtle change in Tomas's eyes as he goes inside the dream state. And we go back to Washington, where Andy has found Caleb standing on the well outside, counting to 10. And as he hits 10, the well breaks and Andy catches him before he falls in. And it seems like Caleb was taken over by some other force to get him there because he didn't really seem to know where he was.
Right.
So that's good.
And yeah, no.
So then other bad things that are happening, we go back to Tomas, who is seeing blacks. He's in a church now, and he sees the black sludge where the holy water should be. And then he hears a door slam, and it turns out it's the confessional.
Yeah.
And after midnight starts playing again. And he's talking to Cindy in the confessional and trying to get her to like fight back and come out of this demon state. And while this is happening outside, another truck pulls up where Marcus is, and then they finally break in. Marcus sees that Tomas has been like taken over by the like dream state, and then like inside the dream, Thomas is being choked, and the husband breaks the like connection and like carries her out. And we see her face has a creepy smile on it. Cue tubular bells.
Yes, which I'm gonna be honest, I never knew the name of the song other than the Exorcist theme.
That's
So
good.
when the credits were like tubular bells, I was like, what?
Yeah, I don't think we've ever like said the name of it, I guess.
Yeah.
Probably should have, but I didn't. Because it's just the Exorcist song. Everyone knows.
Yeah.
We go back to Washington. Andy carries Caleb in, tells Grace to go to bed, and then the creepy dream handprints from the party are on the wall of Andy's house. Dun, dun. So that's good. That's a good ending.
It was a
So
good ending. It, like I said, great beginning, good ending. I don't hate the characters, but there was a lot in the middle that was just too much for me today.
it was a lot. It was a lot. They're introducing a lot up front because they're
Mhm.
changing the entire story. Uh,
Right.
which I feel like the first season we did that too. I feel like we introduced a lot of people in that, and like a lot of like
And
ideas in
I
that first
do
episode.
remember neither of us was I remember being very uninvested after the first episode. Like
Yeah.
I wasn't really sure if I even cared about finishing the show. And then even the second episode, it wasn't until episode 3 that I was like, oh, I need to finish this series. So I'm not surprised that I'm not super invested yet because I just feel overwhelmed. But
Yeah.
visually, it was great. And I am interested in what they're doing. I think the things that they did do to hook you were good. But again, I'm not surprised that I'm not in it yet.
Yeah, I was very interested in the visual effects and the music choices. I thought that was really excellent. And so,
Yeah.
and like with a new cast and some of them being people I know, I'm very excited to like
Yeah.
see where they go. And that's really the only bit
Well,
of trivia
well,
they had. Oh, go ahead.
well, as I say, because Verity is Megasonic Teenage Warhead.
I'm sorry. Is what?
Um, Verity plays Megasonic Teenage Warhead in the Deadpool movies.
Oh, I didn't even realize that. That's why she looks familiar.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I didn't realize that. But yeah, and like that's the one piece of trivia is that if you pay attention to the credits, the Rance family names are no longer in the credits and our new characters' names
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
Which like
Um,
shocking, I
I
know.
don't know why this is not in the trivia, but the episode was dedicated to William Peter Beatty.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that it wasn't in the
Okay.
trivia, but it was in the like
Yeah.
credits, whatever. Because it was when
Is
he passed away.
he passed away in January of 2017.
Very sad. And so since that's all of the trivia, I'm gonna give you my own trivia for this episode that
Great.
I found. I don't know if I should rub makeup all over my face. Um, so the episode is called Janus, as I said. So I was gonna tell you a little bit about him. He is the god of doors, gates, and transitions.
Okay.
He represented the middle ground between concrete and abstract, such as life and death, beginning and end, youth, adulthood, rural, urban, war and peace, and barbarism and civilization.
Okay.
And so, what a way to like open the story with like already knowing we're going to be between concrete and abstract the entire time.
Well, and also, the month of January is named after him.
Yes, yes. But that didn't really have a connection in our story. So,
Well, except for that William Peter Beatty died
oh
in
yes,
January,
yes,
which
yes.
is not really connected to the story. It's just a connection I made.
Right. Um, so that's all the trivia I have. So who do you want to punch in the face?
Thomas, because once again, he is just being a pig-headed and stupid. And like, granted, he probably is going to end up being right, but like, he's so fucking cocky and full of himself and sure of himself in a way that he really doesn't have any right to be yet. And he got his inability to do things the way Marcus wanted him to do it did get Cindy stolen back.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, he's got to follow the rules. Um, so I agree, you're not wrong, but I picked the snitch at the drugstore
oh yeah, fuck
because
that guy.
he was being super shady too. Like even if he was doing it for the right reasons, he was like super shady about it. He like was being mean. Like he
Yeah.
was not seeming like a good person. So I don't trust him.
Yeah.
So who's your MVP?
Andy Kim.
Thought it might be. Thought it might be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so because you chose him, I'm gonna go with Marcus, of course.
Yeah.
Because he just like holds it together really well for someone who should not hold things together very well. Yeah. So, do you have any predictions for next week or for
I
this
surely
like season?
I surely do not, because as of right now, I still don't understand what happened. So I'm not really in a place to make predictions yet.
Yeah,
Um, except for
fair.
that, obviously, the two stories are going to connect at some point. That is
Sure. Well, I imagine one of the kids will become possessed.
for
I
sure,
imagine it
for
will be
sure.
Caleb, but
I think our Caleb already is possessed.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah,
So
so
maybe
I
it's more than one
agree.
of them.
I agree. Caleb, I think Caleb is already possessed. I think there's definitely connection. I think there's definitely a possibility for more than one of them. I think something's up with Truck too.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but um, yeah,
But also, like, they all just have their own like mental issues. So is it a mental health issue or is it like a possession issue? Which one's it
right.
gonna be? Like, we're gonna find out because not a one of them seems to have a healthy mental state. I mean, Shelby's probably the closest, but I'm
But
sure he's
you
well.
know there's some trauma in there that he's hiding.
Absolutely, absolutely. So
He's too well put together compared to the other four to not have hidden trauma.
yeah. So do you think like Cindy is gonna be a focus, or do you think like we're gonna lose her for a few episodes and then maybe find her and like exercise her? Like,
Yeah, I don't
what do
think
you
she
think's gonna happen
matters.
there? I don't know. I don't know either.
Yeah, I don't know that she matters at all, really.
I
Except
don't know
for
either, but
being
like
late.
she has to be exercised at some point. But now like her husband took her back, so
Yeah,
I
I don't
figured we'd
know.
exercise her by the end of this episode, and then we'd move into her story. Like that's what I thought was gonna happen, and then it didn't. So
Unless following her is what gets them to the other people because she goes there.
because there's children there, could
Yeah,
be, could
I don't
be.
know.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's all I have. So
No.
it is the 31 Days of Horror challenge, spooky season, October. So please follow all of our social media so you can keep up with what movies we're watching and what we're talking about and whatnot. You can email us deathandaliens@gmail.com. You can find us on all of the social media at Death and Aliens. You can find me at CECloud13.
And you can follow me everywhere at EMKAY_superstar.
And we will see you for Sci Fi Sunday.
Bye.